Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Watches TV, where I watch all the television shows, and then I come over here and I react to them. And sometimes I also cover movies over here. Yesterday, I covered the new Apple movie, The Gorge, and today I'm going to react to and review The Last Showgirl with Pamela Anderson. And then tomorrow I will be returning to television shows. Tomorrow I'll be returning to television shows. My plan tonight is to watch the new Ruby Frankie documentary. So I will be returning to that. But today I wanted to do a reaction to The Last Showgirl. So first of all, let me get into this synopsis first before I get into telling you guys what I thought about this movie. A movie that I was probably one of my most anticipated movies for 2024. The Last Showgirl is a 2024 American drama film directed by Gia Coppola and written by Kate Gersten. It stars Pamela Anderson, Jamie Lee Curtis, Billy Lord, Dave Bautista, Brenda Song, and Kiernan Shipka. Its plot focuses on a middle-aged Las Vegas showgirl who is faced with an uncertain future after learning that the revue she has performed in for 3 decades is scheduled to close. The screenplay was adapted by Gersten from her own play, Body of Work, which she based on her visits to the Jubilee show shortly before its closure in 2016. And what's so crazy about this is, I did not know. I've been talking about this, so every day I vlog on a channel called Peter Vlogs. I did not know that it was based on the show Jubilee, but I was talking about watching this movie, and I was like, I remember like going to Vegas early on. I wanted to see this like Vegas show, and to see what like a real Vegas show was like. I love Las Vegas. My husband and I were married in Las Vegas. It's one of my favorite cities in the entire world. I love movies about Las Vegas. I love TV shows about Las Vegas, books about Las Vegas. And so I can remember, like, I think it was the second time that I was there, maybe the third time. I wanted to see, like, all different kinds of shows in Las Vegas. And one of the shows that we went to was Jubilee. And I did not know until I just read the synopsis that it was based on that. I also didn't know that Jubilee closed in 2016. So that's kind of crazy. I can't imagine why. Compared to all the Cirque du Soleil shows that I've seen and whatever, it was definitely what you would imagine a Vegas show to be like, with showgirls. And I remember there was like the sinking of the Titanic, I believe, was in that. I could be wrong, but yeah, so it's interesting. I didn't know that. So let me explain to you how I found out about this show. So first of all, I started seeing stuff pop up about this with interviews to do with Pamela Anderson probably about a year ago. And I was so excited to see this movie. I was like, oh my God, Pamela Anderson, this is supposed to be her comeback film. It's about this, aging showgirl in Las Vegas. I love Las Vegas. I love any movie that I know pays homage to, older, like, actresses and things like that. And so I was really excited to see this. I love, anytime that you see, an actor or an actress, have, like, this return to, like, their comeback, I love that. I love that, right? And so I was really, really excited, about watching this film. And then when it came out, it was like in limited theaters. It was only like, in like, I think 4 or 5 cities and something like that. And it showed at a couple film festivals. It actually has won quite a few films, or quite a few awards. I was kind of surprised when you go down here and you read, it says in here, the film had its world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival on September 6, 2024, and began a limited theatrical release in the United States on December 13th. Before expanding on January 10th, 2025, it received generally positive reviews from critics, with Anderson garnering critical praise. This is important to my review, okay? Anderson received nominations for Best Actress at the 82nd Golden Globe Awards and the 31st SAG Awards, while Curtis received nominations. Jamie Lee Curtis is the supporting actress in it for Best Supporting Actress at the latter, as well as the 78th BAFTA Awards. And then it goes in here and talks about the plot. Shelley Gardner is a 57th, played by Pamela Anderson, year-old showgirl who has performed for 3 decades in Le Razzle Dazzle, a classic French-style revue at a casino resort on the Las Vegas Strip. Her co-stars in the show now include several younger women, and they go in here and talk about them. Shelley's older friend, Annette, who is played by Jamie Lee Curtis, maintains a close friendship with Shelley, despite having been ousted from the show years prior, and now works as a cocktail waitress. So, I didn't really know what to expect from this. And And I'll be honest with you, after I watched the movie, I went and I watched some interviews with Pamela Anderson because I was like, first of all, I love, like I said, any kind of comeback story for, you know, any actor out there. So I was like, I was really like rooting for Pamela Anderson in this. You know, I'm not somebody that like the Baywatch days. I didn't watch Pamela Anderson that closely. She's actually not a pop figure icon that I have like really followed the story for a long time. But in the last couple years where she has been wearing less makeup, and, you know, the documentary I did watch on Netflix, which I thought was fantastic. And, you know, she's come out and she said that she's not against makeup. She just feels like there's a time and a place for it. And she doesn't feel like it's necessary to always wear makeup. I love that whole idea of it. Years and years and years ago, I saw Diane Keaton in an interview, I think it was with Oprah, and Oprah asked Diane Keaton if she was going to get any work done or have any work done or anything like that, and she said no, she believed in the idea of aging authentically. And it's kind of something that as I've gotten older, that I have kind of like clung closely to, and I really like the idea. I mean, listen, my dad is a retired plastic surgeon, my husband gets a lot of aesthetics things done, and I don't judge anybody for it. I think you got to make your own journey, but for me, the idea of aging authentically and kind of like owning your age, I love that. And so when I see a movie or a film or I read a book that has to do with somebody that's aging, I relate to that so much. And there's so many movies in the last couple of years that are independently done that I thought this would be very similar to this. For example, Frances McDormand in any movie that she does, but in Nomadland, I loved that movie, Nomadland. With Frances McDormand, and then a couple years ago, there was a movie that was nominated for an Academy Award called To Leslie, which I actually forgot about until just the other night, which was about a woman that was an alcoholic. I've been sober for 30 years. I really related to the story. I thought it was fantastically done. I love these movies that if they're not independently done, they seem like they're independently done, and they have a very small cast, and I love all that. And so I was really excited to watch this movie. I didn't realize that you could rent it, or I guess buy it. You could buy it on, you know, all your Apple and Amazon, all that kind of stuff. So the other night, I was looking for a show to watch, and I'd seen an ad that this was like, it was like Watch It Now or something. It came up, I don't know, on Instagram or Facebook or something. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go over and, oh, by the way, if you want to know what I'm watching in real time, I post every single night on my Instagram story, my new Instagram for this channel, which is Peter Watches TV. It's linked below, or it's listed below. You just go over to Instagram and put in Peter Watches TV and subscribe or follow me over there. And then if you want to know what I'm watching in real time, so like I put it up that night. And it was interesting because a lot of people reached out to me and said, let me know what you think, let me know what you think. So I'm going to let you know what I think. I thought about it. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. To be honest with you, I was a little disappointed. And I'm kind of surprised, in all honesty, that Pamela Anderson is getting, like, unbelievable praise in comparison to Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis is the star of the movie is Pamela Anderson. So what it's about is it's about this woman, and she's 57 years old, which is interesting because I looked it up, and that's exactly the age that Pamela Anderson is. I love that the synopsis refers to middle age. I guess 57 is middle age now, so I'll be 53 in June. Does that mean I'm middle age? Like, okay, so I'm going to live to be 106. I think that's fantastic. I hope I do, you know? I really do. I love that we're referring to 57 as middle age now, you know? Because when you hit 50, it doesn't feel like middle age as much anymore. I don't know. It doesn't to me, at least. But anyway, I'm loving my 50s, you know? So, but it's about this woman, and her name is Shelley, and she has been, for I think it's 30-some years, 38 years, I think. She's been in this show, this Showgirl review that's called The Razzle Dazzle. And it's based on these kind of like French showgirls shows that they used to do in Paris. And she's kind of obsessed with that idea of it comes from Paris. It's this very classical kind of show. Like, she's kind of hung up on that idea. And so she's working for the show, and like, all of the girls that work in the show with her are like in their early 20s. They're much younger than her, and they kind of look up to her as like this mother figure type. And so then she finds out that she's like very close with the show manager, and they've had like a past relationship, but you don't really know the past relationship, and he's very sweet to her. I think that's the part that's played by Dave Bautista. Anyway, and so, but they have this kind of conflictual relationship. She's kind of difficult to get along with, and so they don't really hint at it, but like Annette, Jamie Lee Curtis, is a heavy drinker and gambler. She's actually like lost her apartment, she's lost jobs, she's lost all of her money from gambling and drinking. And so she's like her best friend that like, it says on here that she got ousted from the show years ago. In the movie, they say that she left the show. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if they insinuated. I watched it pretty closely. I mean, I watched it on my iPad. I didn't stop for 1 second. But anyway, and so she finds out that the show is being canceled because the hotel is going to put a new show in there. Now, if you're somebody that goes to Vegas, the new show looks very typical, because they show part of it, looks very similar to what I would call a Spiegel World show. So Spiegel World shows are like, I think, Opium or Cosmic something at the Cosmopolitan, Absinthe, that is at Caesar's Palace. They're like these kind of vaudeville shows, but they have like Cirque du Soleil tricks in them, but they're very funny and kind of crass at the same time. We've seen them all, and I think they're fantastic. And I always tell people, if you're gonna go to one of them, you gotta leave it all at the door, because I mean it's crass. And so they're replacing it with one of those shows, and she just thinks that this is like the worst thing ever. But she's also going to be out of a job. She doesn't really know what she's going to do. She owns this home. So it starts and it ends kind of with her doing this audition for this new show. Not that show, but a different show. And so her friend through the whole thing is Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis is fantastic in this movie. I mean, absolutely fantastic. And she is just, she plays like another aging woman. There's a scene where they're in the locker room at the cocktail. There's two scenes that Jamie Lee Curtis should have absolutely 100% got nominated and won an Academy Award for this. There's one scene where she's in the dressing room, and Jamie Lee Curtis has like, what do you call it, on a... why can't I think of, why is it, oh my god, why is it, anyway, she's got her underwear on, and she's got these, like, hose over them, and they're all stretched up, and she's, like, changing while she's in this, like, in this dressing room, and you can tell she's just real pissed about it, and she's older, and she's, like, drinking, and she's like, I can get you a job here as a cocktail waitress, and then she, like, shouts out at this older waitress, because they, like, keep the younger cocktail waitresses she works on a casino floor, and, like, they cut the older waitresses earlier. Then there's this scene, it makes absolutely no sense, but it is so fantastic that I don't even think it's the song that's playing in the casino at the time. They just put it in the background, and it's Bonnie Tyler's, what's that song called? Why can't I think of any of this while I'm talking about this? That turn around every now and then. And Jamie Lee Curtis, like, takes off her hat and stuff that she's got on for this job, and she goes up on this, like, stage in the middle of this casino, and she's just doing, like, this, like, dance / striptease / showgirl show in the middle of this casino while these people are like walking by and watching her to this Bonnie Tyler song. It's one of the most fantastic scenes I've ever seen in a movie. I love these kind of artistic movies like this. I love any movie that really gets to the reality of people's lives, and that's what this really is about. And so then it's really about, like, then the other part is that Billie Lourd, Carrie Fisher's daughter, who I absolutely love, she plays Shelley, Pamela Anderson's daughter, that Shelley ended up apparently giving to, like, another couple, like, foster care or something, and they adopted her, because her focus was on the show. So it's her kind of trying to repair that relationship with her daughter, who is now, like, graduating from college, and doesn't really, like, kind of wants a relationship with her, but not really, and so it's the working out of that relationship. And then what is Shelley gonna do? And then at the very end of this audition, the guy says, like, he's not interested, and she's, like, worked so hard on this routine and stuff like that, and he's like, look, he's like, you got hired and stayed at the Razzle Dazzle because you're hot. You can't dance. You have no dance ability whatsoever, and she can't. She's not really a great dancer. And so then it kind of ends with the last show at La Razzle Dazzle. There's really, like, no, like, I mean, if you're going into it to look for, like, it's really a glimpse into this woman's life. So if you're going in, and it's a character study like nobody's business, I love movies like this. If you are going into it to find a conclusive ending, I'm telling you there's no conclusive ending. You don't even really know what happens at the end to her and things like that. It just kind of, like, is the last show and then it ends. And they make some cheer at the end, like the last showgirl, they're all cheering together or something like that. The thing about this movie is this, okay? Like, I compared it to, like, Nomadland with Frances McDormand, or To Leslie, which is an independent movie done about this alcoholic, and that her, like, is staying with her son and then lives in this hotel room and stuff like that. There is such a grittiness and a rawness to those movies that I'm talking to you about, and there's so many independent movies that I absolutely love, that there's a grittiness and a rawness to, like, the real life, you know? That is a little bit missing from this movie. I don't really know how to explain it. Like, one of the things that was interesting to me is that all the things they show about Vegas, and maybe this is purposeful, I don't know, but are like all the back streets. Like they like scan kind of a little bit like the Strip, but you don't ever really see the Strip. Except for like one time when her and Jamie Lee Curtis are walking down. It's all these close-ups of them like smoking and stuff like that, but you don't really ever see the Strip. You don't ever really, and I think what they're trying to do is show the real story of people that really live in Las Vegas, which is interesting because my husband's cousin lives in Las Vegas and doesn't live on the Strip and things like that. And I've had other friends that have lived in Las Vegas that don't live on the Strip. And so I think they were trying to show that, right? But like, they don't really show it. It's kind of like a mix between it. And I don't understand not using Las Vegas as this amazing backdrop. When you watch movies like Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage, like, it all takes, like, a lot of it takes place at, I can't think of her name now either, but anyway, her apartment that's off the Strip, right? But like, then they show the Strip as well. There would have been a way to do this and still show the grittiness of what it looks like to live and work in Las Vegas and work at this show. I don't know, there was a lot missed to me. When I was watching it, I was like, is Pamela Anderson playing herself or is she playing a character? And I went afterwards and I watched, not that matters, I mean, Meryl Streep's played herself for 40 years and we all, most of us love Meryl Streep. But I went in and I watched some interviews with Pamela Anderson and I still couldn't tell. I couldn't tell if Shelley is Pamela Anderson. I couldn't really tell. I think the interesting thing about it is that Pamela Anderson, to some degree, in this movie, is kind of Shelley. I mean, she is the aging TV movie star that now, after all these years, it's like, but there's no comeback for Shelley, the showgirl in it. It's just kind of a sad movie. I thought it was fantastically done. I will say this with Shelley, who's played by Pamela Anderson, and this is where I'm talking about it from a film critique point of view. There's really no ebb and flow with her character or her personality. There's really no, like, she's very stagnant through the whole movie. It's interesting to me, if she's getting a lot of accolades for this film, it's because she is getting, it's because it's one of her first movies back, and I think the role fits her perfectly. But you don't really see her, I mean, you don't see a whole lot different about Pamela Anderson from the beginning of this movie to the very end. Whereas with Jamie Lee Curtis as a supporting actress in the role, I mean, you really see her kind of ebb and flow through this movie. Jamie Lee Curtis is fantastic in this movie. Even Dave Bautista is fantastic. Even Billy Lord is fantastic in it. And it's interesting to me that Pamela Anderson, who, like I said, I like Pamela Anderson, I just don't understand why she's getting all the accolades. It's because this part was written. I mean, the part is a fantastic part, but I have to be honest with you, when I was watching it, Pamela Anderson's beautiful. She's stunning. It makes sense for her to be the showgirl at 57 years old in this role. I mean, it really does. You kind of question it, like, how is she? But, like, I mean, it makes sense when you watch it. I just think that, and I know this is not a popular opinion, I just think that the role could have had a little bit more depth. Her role wasn't supposed to have a lot of depth. I understand that. Shelley, the character, was not supposed to have a lot of depth. But I think even then, there's only like one scene that's like when she goes to meet this guy and she doesn't really know what else to do. So she's thinking about like dating this guy that's the manager that she used to date, and he's the father of her child and all this kind of stuff. And she stands up from the table and she like throws this stuff and she like walks out. It's probably her most pivotal scene in the movie, and that, other than her, like, walking around this parking lot in Vegas, and they just are kind of, like, showing a montage of her, other than that, it's probably her most pivotal, profound scene in the movie, and even then, I thought, it kind of looks like a bad audition tape. I don't know if it was purposeful, but like I said, I've watched enough interviews of Pamela Anderson now that I can't really tell if Pamela Anderson is playing herself, or she's playing Shelley. But nonetheless, I really enjoyed the movie. A lot of people have reached out to me and said, like, in DMs and stuff like that, should I watch the movie? It's good. I'm telling you right now, like, it is a slow burn. You have to, I enjoyed the movie. I do not regret paying my $14.99 to own it for an eternity. Do I think I'll watch it again? I probably will watch it again. Like, when I'm in Las Vegas, and, like, in the heat of July or August or something like that. That would be the perfect time to watch it. It's a very sad movie. It's very sad and very desperate and very vulnerable and very raw. But I feel like, do you know when you watch these reality competition shows and the judges always say, like Project Runway, RuPaul's Drag Race, things like that, and they'll always say, like, you could have pushed yourself more, you could have been more vulnerable. I feel like all of them, except for Jamie Lee Curtis, could have pushed themselves further. And I think because Jamie Lee Curtis pushes herself so far in this movie, it almost kind of makes everybody else, especially Pamela Anderson, kind of seem flat in the movie, if that makes sense. And I don't know if that was purposeful, because it didn't feel, I don't know, there was no depth to Pamela Anderson's character, Shelley, and maybe that was purposeful. Maybe she's not supposed to have any depth, but there were moments where they showed her having depth on the telephone, and like, there were moments, and some of the moments were fantastic, but some of the moments felt very missed to me. So I liked the movie. I enjoyed it. I don't think that everybody would. You know, my friend asked me, my best friend Tanya, she said, do you think that I would like the movie? And she and her husband watch movies almost every night, and I said, and her husband's name is Eric, and I said, it's a Tanya Peter movie. It's not an Eric movie. Like, Eric would hate it. My husband would hate this movie. But Tanya and I, these are the movies that we sit there and, oh my God, we talk about for, you know, you're like, do you remember that scene? It's one of those movies. I'll probably like it more a month from now than I do in this moment. When I got done with it, I just was kind of like, huh. I wanted more. It left me wanting more. So anyway, I liked it, but it left me wanting more. Except for Jamie Lee Curtis. She was fantastic in it. And not just because I'm a huge Jamie Lee Curtis fan and a huge fan of the Halloween franchise. She was fantastic in it. So anyway, let me know what you thought. I would kind of love to hear some different ideas on it, because maybe there's something I missed. I don't know. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.